Welcome back to Spitballing Cards. In today's video, we're talking all about hobby news and Burbank actually taking all their cards off of eBay, putting it on Fanatics. We're also going to be talking about rumors of Michael Rubin selling part of his shares of Topps and more. So on this episode, it's good to be back. It's good to see you all. It's amazing that I always feel left out whenever I'm not on the podcast, and I always enjoy your conversation, but it's good to be back. It's me, Scott, Ty, Phil, and Chris. Guys, how are you?
We missed you last week. We missed your balance.
Thanks, Ty. I appreciate it. And if you can't tell, I'm actually in a different location than normal still. So I'm still on vacation, but I couldn't do 2 weeks in a row without being here. So I missed it too much. So, okay, well, let's just jump into this. The very first thing we're talking about is Burbank. So Burbank Cards. This is right down Chris's road. This is actually where I met Chris in person for the first time, was at Burbank. Believe it or not, we met there and went to lunch. It was fun. But they have a ton of cards on eBay. They deal with a massive amount of cards. I think they have 40 million. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And recently they have signed a contract with Fanatics, and on their selling platform are going to be listing those 40 million cards. And those will not be on eBay anymore. They'll be exclusively on Fanatics. And so I want to discuss what your thoughts are on that. We can talk about the competition aspect of it. We can also talk about just if you think it's a bad play by Burbank in general to take, higher, maybe more money on lower fee structure per sale for them, but less eyeballs, and go from there. So, Phil, kick us off. What do you think?
I think it's definitely interesting. It's eye-opening. Of all of the big players out there, Fanatics is one that can seriously compete with eBay, and maybe keep them in line and put some pressure on selling fees back to eBay, which seemingly have increased over the years, and now they've got the fees to promote your own items, so it kind of can get out of hand quick. But yeah, this is a big deal in the low end and mid end stuff where Burbank, I think, strives. This is going to be a big gap that PWCC had using the PWCC legacy platform, because the tech is there, which is good. The app is there. But if you look at the Fanatics Collect app reviews, it's basically they ported over all of the old PWCC reviews. So I take it as like the technology still needs some enhancements to get up to the eBay level, and the interface from a web browser would as well. But yeah, this is huge. And some of the fees are really competitive that Fanatics has, particularly on low end items. So from a buy it now perspective, you're looking at a 6% seller fee. And for auctions, there's actually no seller fees. The buyer pays a premium of around 20%. There's different brackets and stuff based on the dollar value. There's potential to get some of that back in bonuses as the seller. So you could get actually more than what the card sells for, technically. But I mean, 20%, whether it's paid by the buyer or seller, to me, it just eats into the end value. So it's not like you're going to get a deal on the card. Somebody's going to have to pay that price, and the price will reflect that. It'll be kind of baked in. But hey, I like what Fanatics is doing. You've got to assume that they've approached other businesses, maybe some consigners that are currently on eBay, and they're probably going to be pretty aggressive with trying to get them on the platform. And it almost seems like they're putting the preferences of the buyers first on this.
Yeah, great points. It brought up a lot of questions, but we'll talk about in a moment. But Chris, you're right next to Burbank. I think you live like close to Burbank. So how do you?
I'm like 15 minutes away. I'm down the road a little bit.
Are you closer to the new location or the old location? Like what's
closer to the new one?
Cool, that's great. So how do you feel about all of this?
So dangerous, Ty. It's extremely dangerous. I think it's cool. Like I'll be honest, I had no real interest in going over to the other platform until this happened. So, I mean, to me, it's kind of like the equivalent of Michael Jordan signing with Nike. Like one of the biggest eBay sellers just jumped ship. And so that makes me far more likely to sign up and start looking for cards over there. I know I missed some stuff. I missed a really big Freddie Freeman a few months ago that was over on PWCC, but I just don't look at it. There's too many places. But to me, this Burbank going over there is going to make me join and pay more attention over there for sure.
Cool. Okay, Ty, any thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I expect dominoes from this. I think this was a really smart move and a very intentional move by Fanatics. I'd love to know a little bit more about what kind of carrot they dangled to Rob to get him to convert. So from what I understand, they're going to be featuring his cards in like the team stores on the Fanatics website. So if you go to the Detroit Lions team store and you search for Jahmyr Gibbs, you're going to see jerseys and other things. And then you're going to see Jahmyr Gibbs cards featured by Burbank, in addition to ostensibly listing through the Fanatics Collect app. So I know that Fanatics has a desire and appetite to drive more fixed price listings as well as like lower dollar cards to the platform. The big problem historically for PWCC is that you just don't get enough eyeballs over for like their weekly auctions to get really good prices. And a lot of times people would get crushed on cards that weren't notable players with buzz around them at a given time. So if I put my Richard Hamilton Topps Pristine, gold refractor on the weekly auction, or maybe something a little less like an X-Fractor, that card maybe would have sold for $60 on eBay on a weekly auction, a 7-day auction. And over on PWCC, it might go for $27. And that's the case for a lot of the auction houses. Golden has the same problem, Heritage, Pristine. Things kind of go in flux depending on the eyeballs and just whether or not there's enough people seeing that particular athlete's cards. So they're actively trying to get more fixed price items and more overall volume onto the website. What better way to do that than to just get 40 million items converted over? So in my background prior to joining SCI, and obviously working very much here, is in like data management and data migration, ETL. I'd love to know what their process is going to be to go through that whole endeavor to get things delisted off of eBay and over onto their platform. But it's really big news. eBay continues to lose a lot of market share to different platforms. Obviously historically like StockX became the marketplace for sneakers. You've had, other things, Pop Shop and different things that have chipped away at different categories on eBay. Whatnot continues to grow in popularity. And then you've got other, platforms like Loop. So more and more things chipping away. If I'm eBay leadership, I would be a little bit nervous about this whole thing, because collectibles and sports cards in particular, I believe is the largest, the highest revenue generating category for eBay now. And so it's a big deal. And Fanatics isn't going to stop. They're going to keep going after this volume. I think the partnerships that eBay has made with ComC and PSA were really important and really smart. So that at least helps them. But there's going to continue to be dominoes in that regard. We talked a little bit about fees. It looks like the way they rolled it out, there's a 6% seller's fee for cards from $0 to $120 that are being listed on Fanatics Collect on fixed price. I do know there was some kind of a footnote about how that's only applicable if you list like within a certain percentage of fair market value.
Yeah.
And
so
I don't know how that's being like calculated. Maybe Phil, you have some insight into that.
I don't know how it's calculated either, but this is interesting. So a 15% seller's fee. So the fee goes from 6% to 15. So it bumps up 9 percentage points for listings of less than 120, as Ty's talking about, that are priced at 20% over market value or more. So this is what I mean about buyer friendly. So 6% seller's fee. But if you really hose somebody on a lower end item, you're going to end up paying 15% instead of 6%. So they've got to have a way of calculating market value. And I guess for lower end cards, some of these will be very like highly traded. So they'll be liquid and there'll be a lot of sales data. But how are they going to pull that information? What source are they going to use or sources? That'll be interesting. Yeah.
So there's I can tell you, working on Market Movers, there's a strong demand for pricing data, obviously from a B2B perspective. It's not something we've actively gone after historically, like we were a consumer product, right? But we do have a beta API, like a partners API that we worked on with Veriswap and a few other companies that we've just sort of started experimenting with. The hitch in that is none of these marketplaces want their pricing information shared with other marketplaces. Yeah. You think eBay wants their pricing information being shared with Fanatics Collect? No way. So you have to abide by the terms of all of these companies for their data, just for the right to redistribute it and disseminate it to, and aggregate it to people. So we can do that within the Market Movers ecosystem. We can't just like wire up our API and our pricing information from all these marketplaces to Fanatics Collect and say, here you go ahead and publish this and use it for your own purposes. eBay would shut us down and others would go after us too. So there's some real nuance in that, but the more sales volume you drive through auction and things, I guess I would assume that Fanatics is trying to do some kind of their own like predictive pricing thing, like Card Ladder and others have done. It's just, it doesn't work. So we'll see.
They don't work. If AI is determining if I pay 6% or 15%, that freaking sucks.
Yeah.
And there's no way for them to manage it. So I'm a little bit hesitant about that. It basically just tells me I'm not going to sell anything less than $120 on this platform. Like, that's kind of how I feel, because I might as well sell it on eBay with more eyeballs. Because that's my question for you, right? Would you rather, if you're a seller like Burbank, or if you're a seller, whoever they sign to an exclusive deal, sell on Fanatics and you have more eyeballs from people who don't care about baseball cards as much, but they might make a random, purchase for the first time? Or would you rather be on eBay and have actual collectors seeing your cards, even though it's a lesser quantity of eyeballs, they're much more likely to buy? Like, what really is the best deal here for these other people outside of Burbank, if you had to pick one?
It depends what you're doing and what you're up for. I mean, if you send stuff to Fanatics Collect and you vault it with them, it's sort of like shipping to ComC. Put it all in a box, ship it off. They scan it in, they image it, they do all the work, and then you price it on fixed price. And if you get hit with 15%, okay, that's exactly the same what you pay on eBay. So it's not like it's more than eBay. So there might be fewer eyeballs, but if you're fixed price, you don't have the same exposure or risk that you do on auction. So
I wonder if you can challenge that increase. Say, hey, that's actually not true. If that's the case, maybe that'd be good. But
maybe,
it's probably really conservative, and it's probably more of a threat than something that they'll roll out right away. Because they're just asking it dragged on Instagram. If they botch that or upset the wrong person.
What they're trying to do. Oh, go ahead, Phil.
Oh, I was going to say, if I'm not mistaken, too. So Ty's talking about some of the other benefits of using Fanatics Collect. I think Fanatics Collect either will have or does already plan to establish partnerships with the 4 major grading companies. So you'll be able to, in the vault, you'll be able to send directly to all of those 4 big companies. I could be wrong, but I think I heard that. To answer your question, Scott, I would say the short answer is eBay for the next 6 to 12 months before this platform gets built up, because it's going to take a while. And hey, I mean, if Burbank just got pulled off eBay, then you've got less competition if you're a seller on eBay right now. So it's going to be a long ramp up period, even though it's Fanatics, in my opinion.
But Phil, you think there's a world where selling on Fanatics makes more sense than eBay, like in the relative next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's already platforms where it makes sense to sell on versus eBay.
That's true. I just mean like for everybody, not for random specific situations, but like for everybody. Could that happen? We saw with grading, right? PSA and BGS were even, BGS was ahead, and now BGS is so far behind. Could we ever see Fanatics take a big lead like PSA has?
What do you think is more likely? Somebody usurps eBay as the top platform, or somebody usurps PSA? What's going to happen first?
Ooh, wow, that's a good
Chris,
question.
what do you think?
Answer
Chris says will be the opposite at this point.
Right. It won't. What I suggest will absolutely not happen. That's a good point. I would say there is definitely a world where the Fanatics Collect, like, that takes over for sports cards for sure. I mean, the marketing money behind Fanatics is very substantial. So they could, if they really want to pump this and put their full marketing behind it, it could work. It will take time. Like, it took PSA years to overtake BGS, but it's certainly not impossible. Yeah. And I'm curious if I don't know, and I will never know, if Rob from Burbank, like, if he took whatever terms he got from Fanatics, if he took them to eBay and was like, do you want to match, whatever they're doing for me? And I wonder if that conversation happened. I'd be very curious.
Yeah.
I know one thing that will be really valuable. I think both companies are going after this actively. The first of the 2 marketplaces, if there's any kind of a timing gap, the first marketplace that establishes an accessible indexed catalog of all of the card checklists like ComC has, and it integrates it into their platform so that you can shop for cards and see all of the cards listed for an individual listing, like all the prices. So I can see all 15 copies of this, Julio Rodriguez refractor, first PSA 10. and they make it really easy to search things, and they go down that path of supporting both seller and buyer in that regard, like COMC has done such a good job with, I think that will help create market separation. The thing I wanted to say about Fanatics Collect and what they're trying to do with the pricing thing and the fee structure is they're trying to get away from what the paradigm that exists today on eBay and on PWCC's fixed price listings, which is a whole bunch of stuff priced way over comp on fixed price. And it's stale and it sits there. And if you have a vault, you don't want that crap sitting in your vault forever, just, eating up space and time and energy. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, you need to list your fixed price items for a reasonable price to help move them, not just make them sit there. The problem is I think they're going about it the wrong way. What they need to do is say, if we see your card sell in our own platform on auction and you have it fixed at a fixed price, whatever, we're going to start hitting you with a fee, like what COMC does in certain cases. If you have things priced too low, like under a certain amount, they charge you. That would be a better approach than like, we're going to hit you with a bill based on our arbitrary valuation. If your card sells for $150 on fixed price and it gets paid for, and then they tell you that you were over comp, but somebody just paid for the card, you just set the comp. So that actually, there's no that's the world that doesn't exist. Somebody just paid for it. So that's obviously what the card is worth. So I think their approach is a little wonky on that. They'd be better off just hitting you with a slow drip of fees that makes you motivated to bring the price down on the card.
Yeah, T-Bot, that's a fantastic idea. There's an Albert Pujols Chrome SSP that's been sitting on eBay for $50,000 for the last, I think it's been up there for 24 months.
That seller has like 15 cards
every 3 days. And it's stupid. It's a complete waste of everyone's time that I have to have that come up on a saved search and look at it and then just dismiss it again. Yeah, I would like to see that guy get bled dry. Or
make it like Zillow and other real estate platforms where if you see something that's massively overpriced, you can just hide it from your visibility unless it relists at a lower price, right? So that you're at least able to cleanse your own save searches and things.
eBay,
how I work in product.
eBay with Wax will definitely deprioritize listings of the same because it's easy to compare. Like all this Wax is the same. It's all like, single box of Bowman Sapphire. The really high price stuff, or the guys that aren't even entertaining offers, or the ones that are auto rejecting, they seem to be further down because I always have better luck with the ones that are closer to the top of the search. So they are doing some of that, but not completely penalizing them. eBay actually has a kind of an ass backwards mentality. They hope somebody clicks the buy it now button on purpose and pays for it. They want the highest fees, right? And they're not that, blind. They do want stuff to sell. And they'll incentivize you to run auctions, of course. And a lot of the bonuses used to be centered around stuff like that. But there is something to them making it difficult to find out what something sold for. When it was bin OBO, yes, you can go find it in Terapeak, but it's not always very transparent. And I think one of their spokesperson even said on Twitter, like, well, we don't want to manipulate the market down so we don't show the prices that were actually paid for. It's like, what are you talking about? You're manipulating it by not showing us the prices, by making people think that they paid double what they actually did. But yeah.
Okay, good points, Ty. I like your point about the new comp idea, right? Let's say a card hasn't sold for a year and it's 30% over what it was before, but now you're being hit with a fee. Yeah, it's a good point. So I do want to talk about eBay a little bit more before we jump to the next topic. Do we think eBay is going to respond by decreasing fees? Are they going to respond by doing anything? Or are they just going to say, it is what it is? We think we can basically wait it out. Like, do we think eBay is going to clap back, or do we think it's just going to be what it is? What do you think?
I'd love to see them drop fees. I'd love to see them drop fees. They also need to, Ty mentioned that their eBay and PSA have that deal with the vault, but that has been, I've had 3 friends have serious issues getting listings worded properly. And one guy had 3 Stadium Club image variations, SPs, SSPs, whatever you want to call them. We'll save that argument for another time. But he sent them into the vault, and the vault listed them. They didn't include variation, SP, or SSP. And then they just listed them on eBay. And like, he couldn't get them to change the title. And the auction just ran its duration, and they sold for like $15. Right. I don't think anyone saw them. I never even saw them. So, well, he sent me the link. But if he hadn't, I wouldn't have. So that needs to get cleaned up. Because I was just driving.
Well, they sold. I mean, I think that dynamic's done because the vault got sold to PSA. Right. So you can't do the like eBay vault thing anymore with the screwy. But that's exactly what I mean by the catalog. Like, build the catalog with the actual manufacturer checklists, and follow syntax. Yeah, I was pontificating on Instagram yesterday in my stories about eBay listing titles because people just are allowed. It's the wild, wild west. They can put whatever they want, and they put dumb stuff in their listing titles that doesn't make any sense. Half the time, it's not even true. If
I think half the cards listed on eBay, Shohei Ohtani is in the description or he's in the listing. Even though it's not his card.
Half the listings either say eBay 1 of 1 or SSP, even if they're not. So anyway, what will eBay do? It's a good question, Scott. I want to be careful because if I'm being honest, I think eBay is incredibly important to the sports card hobby. I think their marketplace is 95% of the sales volume in terms of transactions. Maybe it's probably more than that actually for total cards sold today, and cards under 5 figures for sure. And I personally root for eBay. They've had a lot of turnover in their leadership and in overall positions, especially related to collectibles. All the people that we had relationships with over the last 4 years at SCI came and went or were let go or went on to different opportunities. At the highest levels, they have new people in different places. Based on historical precedent, they haven't been quite as bad as Beckett in terms of unable to execute, but they also can't seem to get out of their own way because they're such a large company, probably, to actually prioritize the things that would deliver the most value and have the biggest impact and just cement their position as the incumbent and the behemoth. We look at, if you were to do a case study and just stack up collectors, PSA, and eBay and look at execution, one of them has just continued to tighten the wrench and make moves to just choke out every competition, including buying their biggest competitor, PSA and SGC. And, eBay's, they've done some things that I like. I like that they turned on auto pay. I like, but they've got like show best offer prices, build the catalog, do things that support sellers, stop always siding with every buyer who, makes any ridiculous claim. Like there's a lot of different scenarios and things that they need to work through. So I don't think, and they just keep increasing fees. We haven't seen fees come down. They're up to 15% now. So I don't think fees are going to come down.
I agree. I also want to note the spitballing word of the day is pontificating. Good job, Ty, on that usage. For those that don't know, pontificating is to express one's opinions in a way considered knowingly pompous and dogmatic. So I
think I've been doing that for like 15 of this 30 minutes so far. So.
I think that's our entire podcast. Maybe we're pontificating cards. Is what
episode title, Teapot Pontificates, We Listen.
Let's pontificate a little bit more. Which company has a bigger market cap, Fanatics or eBay? What do you guys think?
Have to say eBay at this point, right?
It's eBay, isn't it? eBay.
eBay's
quantity.
Okay, eBay's 28 billion, and Fanatics is right around the same number.
Okay.
So eBay's got other stuff, and Fanatics has other stuff outside of collectibles. So this could be. I mean, these guys could duke it out. Maybe it'll be just a battle of whoever runs out of money first.
Do you think?
It could be either one.
Yeah, it could be both. But do you think if eBay just came in at 6% fees across the board for sports cards, it would just crush what Fanatics is trying to do? Like,
they don't need to, Scott.
Yeah,
they don't even need to change their fees from where they're currently at.
I'm just hopeful.
They've got competitive fees, and they've got the number one marketplace. They could change the structure around a little bit, but if they change their rates in the short term, there's probably a 50-50 chance whether they'd go up or down. They'd be like, oh, they're doing this 20% buyer's premium. Oh, we can implement this on some of our items. eBay at the end of the day can be somewhat affordable and competitive with the other platforms. I don't know. I'm not to be a eBay fanboy, but they're okay.
We're sponsored by eBay now, by the way.
I like eBay.
Just kidding.
I want eBay to be good. I want them to be good, and they have room for opportunity.
Yeah, this is sort of I shouldn't say this. I don't think eBay cares, but my latest trick I've actually been fairly successful at in the last 2 or 3 weeks is engage a seller or a buyer will come to me with a card I have listed on eBay, and then I can push them over to my slabs, and we have done the sale over there. So they pay less, I get more. It's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah,
or do the same tricky though.
If you have the same username on Instagram as eBay, you just go message the guy on Instagram. That's what I probably do. What I do with half my purchases at this point.
Yep. Yeah. So first thing I do is always look to see if that.
Maybe we shouldn't be saying this. Our accounts are going to be deleted tomorrow.
I don't know. There's a lot of that happens, and eBay knows that. I mean, they don't want you to do that. They know that, but
no, there's accounts on eBay whose username is like bobscards.ig.
Yeah.
Like, and
or their
it's not
telephone
there for
number
months.
in the description of the card itself. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
And they have AI trying to catch all that. But
Yeah, that's an ongoing challenge for them. A lot of people ask me, "What's your IG? Are you an IG?" I say yes, and they ask, "What's your handle?" It's like, dude, I'm not going to respond to this. It's the same, but if you can't figure it out, you don't deserve this card.
People message you and they're like, "Are you on?" And then eyeball emoji, and then JI or something, like trying to code it in the.
I've had people just send me pictures of their Instagram account because I think photos are tougher for AI to figure out what they are.
Yeah. Well, at least for eBay's AI that they use, yeah,
sure.
I will say, as of right now, though, I'm kind of on Phil's side. I hope Fanatics does a good job. I think competition is good. I think at the end of the day, I think we all agree with that. But I feel like it's going to be a tough road for Fanatics, but they might be able to do it in the next little bit. So,
well, then there's this news, right? Which is just a rumor that there's apparent revenue decline. Short little article here. This is very much just a rumor, which Fanatics has denied. But the allegation was that Michael Rubin could be looking to sell up to $1 billion of his stake in the company. Revenue declining, growing concern. We're seeing a lot of different new products come out. There's a lot of people who are always cranky in the comments about print runs and the recent price of Topps Chrome boxes and blah, blah, blah. But
$45 a blaster at Walmart today. I was going to buy one, and I said, no, there's no way.
Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter with the box prices is like they're getting the money and they're having no problem getting the money, I don't think, for that product in particular. And relative to other sports for Panini, like Prism and Optic, we've talked about this in the past. You get wrecked on an Optic basketball box. I mean, just absolutely destroyed, and you're paying $800, for a box, and you get nothing. And I mean, you might get something. You might hit a massive Victor Wembanyama card and make off like a bandit, but probably not. So I don't know. There's a lot of financial uncertainty. We saw the markets take a dip today. There's stuff going on over in Japan. There's a lot going on in the world, and obviously it's an election year, so maybe that's where the uncertainty stuff for the Fanatics comes from. But who knows how that could impact the battle with eBay? I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. So on that note, it is an unconfirmed rumor, but what is confirmed is that 3 major credit agencies downgraded Fanatics debt in 2023 over concerns, not necessarily with revenue. It was more related to profitability and potentially cash flow issues as well that pertain to both Fanatics and the collectibles segment of that. So this here says that their EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So it's like a gross number. It fell from, I think, like 9% to 2.5%. So it shows that they're spending a lot of money. So the expenses are high. I think they said that the revenues were up this year by like 17%, but maybe they're not growing fast enough given the expense side of the equation. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this was true or if it wasn't true. And I mean, guys, remember, they're supposed to IPO. A lot of people expected that to happen this year. And who knows if that happens, and probably isn't good timing for that if he is selling part of what he owns, because that kind of like hurts the valuation, you'd think, if he is to really sell $1 billion worth of his shares.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously it's all speculation. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Where there's smoke, is there fire? Well, we'll see, I guess. But other than that, we're 30 minutes in. Should we talk about, I wasn't here last time. Should I talk about my national pickup that I had this past week or 2 weeks ago at this point? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Close
Ty,
us
can you
out.
pull up on my IG? I logged out of IG on my computer, and I
got you.
So,
Give me
but
1 minute.
I went to the national too. Same with Phil and Ty. And what they said was accurate. I was basically only went for 1 day because I actually bought a card in advance, picked it up, paid for it in person. And then it's this card right here. It's a Willie Mays Hank Aaron dual autograph from 2003 Stadium Club. Can you go to the next photo? This one's that's what the card actually looks like. The autographs look faded in the previous one. They're not faded. It was just the scanner. But I went to the National with the intention of buying this card and then grading it. And I paid extra. I think it was like $350 to have it graded same day. did not get graded same day, so that was kind of frustrating. But it was authentic. It got a PSA 8, and this was my national pickup. From what I saw at the show, it was a lot smaller. I remember in Chicago last year, I couldn't go over the whole show in one day. I felt like I could have done this show in one day pretty easily, to be fully transparent. Like, it felt quite a bit smaller. And other than that, like, you've already heard all the negative. There's a lot of good stuff too. But I didn't have much money to spend, so I really wasn't even looking at pricing. But that was my national experience. Stood in the line at PSA, didn't get delivered on time. I also got this card graded. It's a Buster Posey. It's a 1 of 1. I got a PSA 10, which I was surprised about. Like, I thought it was a 9. I didn't think there was anything majorly wrong with it, but a 10 is always great to get when you're fully expecting it. And Posey is unique because he does not have a Topps Chrome Superfractor, because he was a Rapper Redemption in Topps Chrome that year. And on top of that, he doesn't really have anything low numbered. Like, he has nothing low numbered in Topps Chrome. And then I think he only has one numbered refractor. It's like the green out of like 400 or 500 or something. But then in Heritage, he also does not have a Superfractor. So he has only like 3 or 4 1 of 1s of note, in my opinion. It's this one. It is his Bowman Chrome. That Bowman Chrome is a big Superfractor. And then also his flagship 1 of 1. You could say his opening day 1 of 1, but I'd rather have this than that card. So one of his best rookie cards out there, and it got a 10. So pretty exciting. But that was my
Scott, I feel like we have to say, so you don't get blasted in the comments, you didn't have a lot of money to spend at the National after you bought that dual.
Yeah, fully. I sold. So yes. I spent every single dollar I had on that card. I'll tell you what I paid. I paid $7,500 for it, which was higher than recent comps, but those comps were all before Willie Mays passed away.
Yeah.
And so the card was worth more. I had to sell a lot of cards for this card. I sold the the purple Freddie Freeman 2011 Topps Finest to Chris and Jeff.
Yeah, so some idiot bought that one off you. I forget who that was.
I miss that card so much. It's so good looking. I'm sure you feel the same way.
It's nice. It's nice.
Oh, it's right there next to you.
I always keep it next to me. It's right.
And then I did sell a Juan Soto Red Ink Real One autograph rookie card for this card. And then what else did I even sell? That's the good thing. When you can't remember what you sold, it means you made the right move.
Yeah, you're blind. I mean, this is one of the best, has to be one of the best dual autos that exists, right? I think dual autos are criminally undervalued in the hobby. As long as they're on card, there are some amazing combinations.
Yeah, the right pairings.
Yes, great pairings. Yeah, and this one, I think we talked about it, Scott. I think there's less than 100 dual autos of Mays and Aaron on card that exist across every set that Topps has made. Like less than 100 total, I think.
Totally. Like so in 2004 Topps Chrome, there was only 25. And they're on card. They're great looking. Only 25 of them and no parallels. And then in like 2012 Museum or Tier 1 or some random set, there is one number to 15 with no parallels. So outside of 2003 Stadium Club co-signers, there's only 40 of them ever. And so the print run in Stadium Club co-signers is not known, but I'm assuming it's not more than 150. And I'm assuming more than half of them are very much faded or not worth grabbing. So
yeah. Or they're currently in boxes that are being scanned as we speak. I will say, as someone who loves Stadium Club, I know Ty loves Stadium Club. I'm willing to bet, Ty, and you let me know what you think. Is this the best Stadium Club card of all time?
It's got to be in the conversation,
right?
You know, it's up there. I mean, I don't know. There's superfractors of ultra modern rookies that, you know, may go well or may go higher than that, if depending on what the players do. But it's a great card.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, thanks, guys, and it'll be cool. Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, they're kind of connected because they were, you know, Black American baseball players right when baseball was integrated, and they're legends, and they're so connected in Major League Baseball history. And so I think it's a great card, and I think it's a crime there's not more of those two combined in autographs. So I was happy to pick one up because I think in the future we see some really big basketball sales of dual autographs. Why can't baseball have those with 2 top 5 players eventually? Was kind of my bet. We'll see if it pays off. So anyways, that was my national experience. So other than that, let's wrap this up. Thank you all for watching. We didn't get to go over everything that we wanted to, so we'll talk about those in the next video. Highlighting Topps Finest a little bit because that's coming out next week. And anything else anybody wants to add, or are we good to go?
Good, man.
Okay, thanks you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.